Hi everybody, it's Cynthia Kane. Welcome back to UL100ZB, and now this is the video tutorial for week 4 engagement activities and learning assessments. So what you should see on your screen will be the module that we had in Canvas for week 4 visual literacy and citation. I wanted to bring your attention first of all, and I'm going to go ahead and share another screen here for you. You know that I keep emphasizing reading our textbook, the Informational Literacy User's Guide. And the reason I do that is that there's quite a bit in terms of the guide and in terms of the textbook that really fill in the gaps of what we cover in our video tutorials and the information you need for your engagement activities and your learning assessments. I wanted to highlight in Chapter 4, Gather, there is a wonderful visual here on doing a citation in APA and in MLA. And in this particular case, they're comparing a citation to a book chapter. I would encourage you to go back to this and review it on page 58 of your textbook. If you are going to be doing Learning Assessment 5 citation, we'll be going over that in just a second, but I like this because it really highlights the way that citations in MLA and APA are built, and again, some of the differences that we covered in our citation video tutorial. So I did want to highlight that. I'm going to scroll down here now because for this week, we wanted you to read Chapter 8 in our textbook, which deals specifically with visual literacy. So we're skipping a couple of chapters here. We're going to be going back to those in our next weeks. So Chapter 8, Visual Literacy, this is what we would like for you to read because this will just give you a really good concept and a good grasp about what visual literacy is all about, and it really supplements what's covered in the visual literacy video tutorial. So please do read that. So let's go back here to our class. So after you've read Chapter 8 of Visual Literacy, and you've watched the Visual Literacy video tutorial and the citation video tutorial, and again reviewed the 2 articles that are linked here for the citation video tutorial, now I'm going to show you what you can do, if you choose to, for your engagement activities and learning assessments for this week. Again, keep in mind that with specifications grading, you may not choose to do everything because it all depends upon the number of engagement points, the number of engagement credits, and the number of learning assessments that you have targeted that you would like to do for a particular grade. This is up to you. So for visual literacy, for our engagement activity, this would be worth up to 5 points. You would click on this link for Google Images and search for one of the following occupations: nurse, doctor, librarian, or construction worker. And when you do that, take a few minutes to review the images that you retrieved when you searched that specific occupation. And then I would like for you to write about a 5 to 6 sentence discussion response and answer all of the following questions in order to be able to possibly get all 5 points. What was your reaction to the images compared with your own perceptions of the word you searched for? Did you identify any common themes such as gender and so forth in the images, and why might some of those common themes emerge? And finally, how do visual images of occupations affect the ways that we might think of those occupations? So I hope you have some fun with this engagement activity. It's always interesting to search for images of occupations and see what comes up first. Again, please be sure that you answer all 3 questions in order for the possibility to earn all 5 points for this engagement activity. And this engagement activity will be due on Sunday, April 12th by 11:59 p.m. with that 2-day grace period of April 14th. So always remember you do have that 2-day grace period. Another engagement activity that you can choose to do, again for up to 5 points, is another TED Talk on the danger of a single story. You can watch this TED Talk here, or you can read the transcript and write a reflection in which you are answering all of these questions: your reactions, your thoughts, and so forth about the talk, how the talk would relate to information literacy, and how the topic of this TED Talk relates to your personal experience or to society. Again, in order to get the points, It has to be a substantial post, and it has to go beyond, it really made me think, or they were a good speaker. So again, think of something that's at least 5 to 6 sentences. And again, you can choose to do that then for an additional engagement activity. That again would be due by Sunday, April 12th by 11:59 p.m. with a 2-day grace period. And finally, let's focus on learning assessment number 4 and learning assessment number 5. So for learning assessment number 4, in our video tutorial, we looked at some examples of some good and not so good infographics. And we did that because you're going to be using the topic that you are researching right now for your final project. And we want you to create an infographic that's based upon that topic. So an easy way to do this is to think about different facts, different statistics, different areas that you would want to highlight in an infographic in a visual way for somebody who doesn't know anything about your topic. So pretend you're doing this for an audience, they don't know anything about your topic, and you're going to teach them more about it. Now, you do not have to hand in this worksheet, but we do have, and I'm going to pull this up here so you can see it, to help you plan a little bit more. We do have something called an infographic planning worksheet. And it might help if you wanted to print this out or just save this and fill this out for yourself online. Again, you don't have to print this out, but this can help you kind of figure out how you're going to organize your infographic. What's the purpose? What's the audience? Identify some sources of data. In other words, are you getting these sources of data, what you're going to put on your infographic, are you getting these from journal articles, from books, from websites, and identify those sources. And then also think about some graphics that you would like to use. You do not have to do this worksheet if you don't want to, but it can often help in terms of organizing and planning your infographic a little bit more effectively. So the infographic itself will be the infographic that you create from Pictochart or Canva. And on the infographic itself, this might be the easiest way to do this. On your infographic, we would like for you to put in MLA or APA format the sources from which your facts or your information is coming from your infographic. So you might have a couple of websites with the citations for that, or you might have a couple of articles with the citations for that. You can put those directly on your infographic. If you do this on a separate Works Cited page, it would probably be best if you submitted the Works Cited page to Megan or to me separately as an attachment, perhaps through our Canvas email. But if you just put your Works Cited, put those citations directly on your infographic, you'll be fine with that. Now, you're not submitting the infographic. What you are going to do is embed the infographic onto your Wix website. So once you complete your infographic in Pictochart or Canva, you would save it as a JPEG file or a PNG file, basically save it as an image. Then you're going to log back into Wix and click on your UL100ZB. Click on the site that you've already begun creating, and you would have done this if you did Learning Assessment number 3, Evaluation of Sources. And I have my website up here. So now I'm going to go back up here to Home. And I'm going to take another page that's already on here, and I'm going to rename this page. I will go down to Manage Pages. And here, I'm going to rename this page Infographic. So you're going to have another page that's called Infographic. And see how this is changing on the top. Now again, I have different elements on my page, so I'm using a template from Wix, and I can delete this. Basically, I'm just deleting my stuff that I don't want right now. Looks like I need to go back over here. delete some other things on here. Here we are. I'm going to delete this page, and then I'm going to start over again. So we'll go here, and let's go to Manage Pages, and I can add a page and call this infographic. And now I have a new page. I want to show you something else here as well. You can actually move these around when you do Manage Pages. I can move these pages around so I can put evaluation of sources first and then infographic. So you see that rearranged that. So now we'll go back to infographic. And what I wanted to do is show you how you can embed an infographic. This is what you're going to be doing, and then you will submit the URL again for your Wix page. So we'll go to Add an Image and go to My Image Uploads. Upload Media. Upload from computer. And I'm just going to go in here and I'm just going to pick out something that I would like to add. And again, I'm just going to pick out something as an example for you. I'm actually going to embed an infographic that I showed you earlier in our tutorial. And we'll let that load. So this is what you would wind up doing. You would download your infographic as a JPEG file or a PNG file from Pictochart or from Canva, upload it here on the images, and add it to the page. And you see how easy that was to do. So this is what you're going to wind up doing. Always remember then that you can save, and this should auto-save as it goes along. Publish again. When you make a change on your Wix site, you must publish that again, and then this is what you would copy and submit for your assignment. And again, you can add your works cited on the infographic itself, and then that way you're all good to go. This is the rubric that we'll use for grading this as incomplete or complete. We'll go back here. If you would like additional information about how to do this in Wix, this is a second tutorial that we have that you can watch, and then that will help you a little bit more with how to use Wix and how to manage those pages. And finally, learning assessment number 5. This one's going to take a little bit more time. So with this one, the goal is to learn to read citations and scholarly material. This is going to be due again by April 12th by 11:59 p.m. and you do have that 2-day grace period again of April 14th. You would download this document. And I'm going to share this with you. So with this one, there are actually 2 parts. So with part 1, you need to go through this citation, each of these citations, identify the type of resource. Is it a book? Is it a book chapter? Is it a journal article? Look for clues that will help you determine the type of resource that it is and the element that is missing. So Some may be missing an author. Some may be missing a journal title. Some may be missing an article title. The pages may be missing. There's something that's going to be missing from each of these citations, and see if you can identify what's missing from each one. Part 2. You can go back to our library databases with Part 2 and select 5 resources that are related to your research topic. So I'm going to do this for you in just a second. And then you're going to use a citation generator or a citation tool to construct an APA-style citation, paste it into the document, and then describe any corrections that you would have to make in order for that to be correct. So this is what you would do for Part 2. We're going to go back to the library's webpage. And remember, that is www.emporia.edu/library. So I am going to use my topic of art therapy which is what I'm doing with my Wix site, art therapy and eating disorders. I want to find some articles about that topic. So I'm going to go to our databases tab. And for learning assessment number 3, you've done a little bit of this already. You've also done this with your research plan if you did that. I'm going to identify a database that would work for my information need. I like PsycInfo because it deals with psychological information. I'm going to go to an advanced search. And I want to find articles. And again, this is for part 2 of the citation learning assessment. So we're going to do art therapy and eating disorders. And let's add a third word for treatment. Maybe treatment or intervention or therapy. I am going to limit my search down here . There's a lot of different limits you can do in different databases, so you want to explore this. I want this to be peer-reviewed journals. And again, I'm looking for information that would relate to my topic. And it looks like I've got some good possibilities. So this is what I would be doing for part 2 of the citation learning assessment. I am going to go to Cite, and I'm going to copy the citation, and then I'm going to go back over here to my citations document. And this would be for my first one. So I could say that my first citation is going to be this, where I can merge formatting. The resource type is a journal article. Corrections needed. If I look at this, it looks like this actually did not need any corrections. That may depend upon the citation though. So let's go back over here. And I need to find 4 more resources. So you can go to, again, to our library databases to do this. So I might wind up generating another one that may need some corrections. So for example, it may be that there are some items that are capitalized that shouldn't be. There may be some spacing issues, something like that. So this is what you would do for part 2. Use a library database, find 5 resources that do relate to your topic, identify the resource type that they are, do the cite or citation tools for each of those, copy and paste them in APA format, and then list if you need to make any corrections. So going back here, Quick review of due dates. Learning assessment number 4, the infographic, is due by Friday, April 10th at 11:59 p.m. with a 2-day grace period of Sunday, April 12th. And then the engagement activities and learning assessment number 5 would all be due by Sunday, April 12th, with that 2-day grace period. Again, keep in mind that depending upon the number of learning assessments that you want to complete for a grade, you might choose not to do 1 or 2 at all. It just all depends upon what you're choosing. Good luck. Please reach out to Megan, reach out to me before any of these learning assessments or engagement activities are due if you have any questions.